Broads Media.
Yo, we're going to debate Saquon Barkley. That's right. We're going to talk about how the Birds should approach Week 18. Before we do, though, hello, welcome on into the channel. We break down Philly sports every single day here. You can subscribe down below and hit the thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate all of your support. And you can also take Sports Talk with Broads on the road with you by searching on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of your podcasting platforms. And if you leave a 5-star rating and a review over there as well, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. You guys are the best in the entire world. With that, I'll shut up and you can all enjoy the show. And so it begins. It's Monday night. It's the day after pod. And all I consumed since the game ended was about Saquon Week 18. Not for 1 second. On Monday Overreaction Day, right? That's what it's called. Monday Overreaction Day. Did we get any sort of, wow, look at what happened against the Cowboys? It quickly shifted to, go get that motherfucking record. Or, please, don't play anybody Week 18. I knew we'd get here. I didn't think we'd get here as quickly as we did, but damn. Give it a second, will ya? I told you how I felt postgame. I'm not playing my starters. No record is going to make me put my team in a vulnerable position. Let me ask you this. 100 yards. That's essentially what Saquon needs. Everyone talks about how special of a season this was. And it was. Backwards jumping over people. 300 yards in a game. Ridiculous. Are you telling me when you reflect back on the 2024 campaign, what changes this? The feeling that you have watching him run every single snap when he gets handed the football, the difference in this being enjoyable or not long-term is if in a useless game against the Giants, they technically get the record or not. You know, it's not as if they needed this. If they needed this and he went out and got it, I think it's different. It's almost LeBron James and his son. Did that feel like an authentic moment? No. To a degree, I kind of feel like we're doing this with the Week 18 thing. Hey, just go get the number and then forget about it afterwards. This game's basically useless as it is. I don't know. There's a little fugazi in my mind if you break it down to that type of mentality. But okay, even if that's not the case, you're telling me what makes this season enjoyable is just about the technicality of getting 100 more yards and not so what he did up to this point. Does that make sense? And here's another way to view this. Does anybody ever actually talk about this record unless it's about to be broken? Because I've been around Earth 29 years. And I know about Barry Sanders. I know about Adrian Peterson. I know about all the great running backs. Saquon is a part of that family. But in regards to the all-time in 1 year, no one ever actually discusses it unless someone is on pace to do it. We just know about all the elite running backs to ever lace up the cleats and run people over. Emmitt Smith, like, that's what we know. Were you one of the greatest to ever do it, yes or no? The actual statistical data of it, whoever brings up the number that is at the top of the list? Nobody. I think it's such short-term thinking because it's cool. Look, I'm not telling you that it's an easy discussion to have with Saquon. If you're Nick Sirianni, it's not easy. It's an easy decision to make, yes. It's not an easy conversation to have because there's real emotions involved here. And I'm sure deep down, if Saquon was on a lie detector test, he'd say, yeah, you know what? It's a lot of dreams that I have each night thinking about what it would be like on a week 18 when we have 13 wins. Maybe we go get our 14th win and I become the all-time guy. I'm sure that there's some excitement in that for sure. So Nick Sirianni, as the CEO coach that he is, needs to have a difficult emotional conversation with Saquon and say, we love you. Love you. Love you is probably not even telling you how much we love you. That's how much we love you. But we got to think of our football team. We got to think of a bye week. We had an early bye. They were 2-2 and went on a bye week. That's a lot of football in a row. And not only do you have a lot of football in a row under your belt, but you also have to win an added game because you're not the number one seed. So it's not 2 wins and in. You have to play a wild card round. So now we have to win a wild card round, a divisional round, an NFC championship game on the road, and then you're in the Super Bowl. And I understand that there is a way where you can do both. You can get the all-time record, and you can win a Super Bowl, and you can go on a big run, and I get that. But I want to put my team in the best position possible to do it. All the players are going to want to do it. And honestly, if we're doing the let's weigh the injury bug thing compared to the actual rest thing, it's more for me about the rest than it is I'm afraid he's going to get injured. Now, that can happen, though, and if it did, you're talking about one of the worst injuries that could ever happen in this town. If you play Hurts, if you play the starting O-line, if you play Saquon trying to reach for this record and something was to go wrong to a crucial piece to the puzzle, that could go down as one of the worst that we talk about for years and years of, wow, what a stupid decision made. But I'm not even looking at it through that lens. It's more for me giving their body a rest and allowing them to have time off before this puppy intensifies. I want to focus on the rest. But look, all the players are going to want to do it. The linemen are going to want to do it. Saquon's going to want to do it. A.J. Brown is going to say publicly, of course I want my guy to go into the record books. Yes. Ike Reese wants them to do it. John Ritchie wants them to do it. Seth Joyner wants them to do it. You ask every single media member who once put on the pads, they all want to do it. And that's great. Of course they want to do it. They're the players. But there's a reason why they don't make those decisions. That's when the coach comes in. Everyone wants to be on the field. Tua wanted to be on the field. Can't happen. Sometimes the players are going to put themselves in a position that's not necessarily the best for them and the best for the team because they're competitors. And that's what makes them special. We have elite competitors on this roster. But sometimes they're not going to make the best decision for the team because of their competitive fire. And that's when it's on Howie Roseman, when it's on Nick Sirianni, when it's on everybody in the organization in a leadership role to step up and make their presence heard. Now, I heard Adam Schefter on with Pat McAfee, and they were talking exactly this. Take a listen to Adam Schefter on what he thinks is going to transpire.
Darius, we have not heard official word from the Eagles, but I think that everything that they've said and done speaks volumes. As soon as Saquon Barkley went over 2,000 yards yesterday and got to 2003, he came right out of the game. They didn't leave him in there to continue his chase of Eric Dickerson. They got him right out of the game after that run, and he was put on ice. And now he's one of 9 running backs in NFL history to go over 2,000. And after the game, they asked him about it, and he's like, hey, we've got bigger things in mind. They've asked Nick Sirianni. We're not thinking about that. As I said yesterday, as I said this week, I'd be floored if he played again until the playoffs.
Really?
I don't care how close he is to Eric Dickerson's record. Again, everybody takes a different tact and different approaches. The Lions tonight, they're going in. They got work to do. That's how they approach this. The Eagles, they're not going to have a bye. I think that Saquon's going to be put in bubble wrap next week, and then he'll be unwrapped for the wild card game. They have the number 2 seed. Might it have been different if they had put away the number 1 seed? Maybe. That would have been a conversation, I guess. But I don't think you're risking putting out a 2,000-yard rusher in a meaningless game against the Giants, no matter how close he is to Dickerson's record.
It's the truth. It's the right way to approach it, is exactly the way that Adam Schefter just laid it out. You hear Pat McAfee in the background go, really? Once again, a player. It's really not that hard. Adam Schefter said he'd be, quote, floored. There's a reason why he would be floored. Because the basic standard way of viewing this is, why in the world would we ever play him? How about this? If there was no record being chased, you playing him? The answer is no. Okay? Don't even play around. Don't even play the game. Well, no. There wouldn't be one starter that logs minutes against the New York Giants week 18 when you have the number 2 seed solidified and you can't gain any more advantages. There would be a 0% chance that Saquon Barkley takes snaps. It's not even a debate. We wouldn't even talk about it for 1 second if there was no record. That's all the information you need to know. Because there's no way that I'm allowing a rushing record to change my view on what's right. And look, what did Saquon Barkley say when he was on the sidelines mid-season about Kenny Gainwell? Let him go eat. Let him get his. Well, those could have been more snaps to get closer to this record, right? When he got yanked out of the game against the Dallas Cowboys with 2K rushing yards, they could have continued to plaster through. How about whenever you don't play a fourth quarter because you annihilate a team through 3 quarters and you're getting all your starters rest in the middle of a week, in the middle of a game because you're kicking ass so much? Those could be more reps and more ways for Saquon to get himself in the position to get the all-time record, but they didn't. I think it was just, let's take care of our business as a team. And where it ends up, it ends up. And maybe I would feel differently if there were 20 yards to go. But 100, I know it sounds easy to go get 100 yards based off of what we've seen out of Saquon this year, and who knows, maybe he can. There's been some games where he hasn't been able to, but against the Giants, yeah, I get it. They're a very beatable opponent, although coming off of a huge win against the Colts, they didn't quit on their head coach yet. And their fan base is pissed because of it, because they can't even lose right. I'm sure you could get Saquon 100 rushing yards. I'm sure. Especially if that's the idea heading into the game, is just let's go make it happen. But are you playing your starting offensive line? Are you playing A.J. Devontae, or is it Jahan Dotson and some of these other cats? I mean, Dotson is someone who gets snaps. So is it even weaker than the Dotsons of the world where this giant secondary is going, in what universe am I ever going to pay 1 second of my attention to any of these receivers when we know what their agenda is with Saquon Barkley? And Saquon probably could still even flourish and still get the 100. But now it's tougher, now it's harsher, now it's more intense. Now you're working with backups. It's stupid. It's stupid. This season is about making a run to the Super Bowl. And the journey to get there is always a ride. And you want to appreciate that said ride. But this narrative that at least I can get something out of this year if we don't end up winning, it's ludicrous. When do you ever go back to 2022 and think about the special things that went down? Because there were some special things that happened in 22. We just don't care, because when you lose and you don't reach the ultimate goal, the rest of it is blah. And Saquon still did everything leading up to this point through 17 weeks. So if you are bizarre and you do have a different noggin than everybody else in town, and you do reflect back on losing seasons to still appreciate what they did for you, then you should still understand the greatness of Saquon with or without a Week 18 game that is irrelevant. All of that still happened. All of that should still be appreciated in your eyes. So just appreciate it. It was great. Getting the record or not getting the record doesn't change how great it has been through 17 weeks. More times than not, though, if you do not get the championship and you fail, the journey, well, it's perceived completely different. It's not absorbed the same way. No one reflects back to losing to the Diamondbacks with the Phillies unless you're pissed. Everyone gets upset thinking about James Bradbury and the PI call, or having a double-digit lead at half, or Jalen Hurts and the fumble. He was an MVP candidate. MVP special. But no one cares. Because you didn't win. So win. Saquon's going to do plenty of other great things throughout this playoff run that you will remember and hold on to forever. On the way to a Lombardi trophy. And that will matter more than anything that occurred throughout these 17 games. I promise you that. So, I mean, I was a little stunned by the overwhelming majority that are all in on the record. For some reason, you're losing it. You're losing it. Not me. I got everything screwed on upstairs. Yo, speaking of being screwed on upstairs, that was interesting. Bookies.com/Broads. We all love the sports bet. There's nothing better in this world. Well, what if I told you you have an opportunity to get all the fantastic sign-up bonuses available for you on all these online sports books, just smacking you right in the face on your fingertips, right in your fingertips. All you got to do is go to bookies.com/Broads, and you will see all these great sign-up bonuses available for you to maximize your earnings. All right? Do not be a fool. Make sure you check it out. The link is down below in the description. Also, my friends at Garage Beer, you know there's no better light beer in the world. I've been telling you about Garage Beer since I was 3 years old. You walk into a party, you got Garage Beer on your shoulders. Everyone says, damn, you are so cool. That's right. 0% IPA, 100% light beer, 1,000% quality. DrinkGarageBeer.com. The link for that is also down below in the description. All right, before we take a couple of your phone calls, I have a few things that I want to mention as some side notes here. One, Kenny Pickett. You know, I've been obnoxious as hell about what I thought Kenny Pickett could be and how well I thought he played. My man was doing this fried. Not stoned. No, that sounded like he was stoned and maybe smoked a blunt outside prior to taking the field. No, I mean, my man had broken ribs all practice week long, and he went out there and shined like that. You kidding me? So just imagine a healthy Kenny Pickett. Backup quarterback-wise, of course. Backup quarterback-wise. Always in the realm of backup quarterback-wise. But Kenny Pickett was doing that with broken ribs. No wonder why he fell to the ground as harshly as he did after taking a couple of those shots. My man was in some serious pain, but the Stones to want to live out his dream of clinching the NFC East in front of all the fantastic, beautiful fans of Philadelphia at the Link, at home, in the Kelly Greens, even getting some FaceTime, some hair time. You know how important lettuce is to my life. You end up getting your helmet knocked off as you score a touchdown. The fellas are celebrating with you, and you got your luscious hair and flow just in the wind. Beautiful. Ew. Ew. So awesome for Kenny Pickett. So what I want to tie a bow on that little side note is just imagine if he was healthy. 2, Mekhi Becton. The clip of Mekhi Becton crying, walking off the field, truly hit my emotional heartstrings. Everything this man had to deal with in New York. It's funny. It seems like a lot of these guys that come over here are having all sorts of pain and PTSD and awful memories of their times in MetLife. But here's Mekhi Becton, who was supposed to be a tackle, gets slid in a guard, plays here as a flyer. Jeff Stoutland thinks I could do something with him. And boom, he's on one of the most electric offensive lines, and he's a big part of it too. Big reason why they succeed. And now you get yourself a W on a hat and t-shirt afternoon. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. So good for Mekhi Becton. You can tell I've been a part of this. My NFL world was crumbling. My NFL dream was starting to become a nightmare. All right, it was almost a reality that I was done, that it was over, that I was getting given up on. And then here comes Howie Roseman, who brought in Saquon, who brought in CJ, who brought in Mekhi Becton. It's crazy. The biggest acquisition in Bryce Huff, when he left the game, no joke, I didn't even know he was in the game. Swear to God. When I started to see Dave Zangaro and Zach Berman and all the guys who were in the press box tweet out Bryce Huff is listed as questionable or Bryce Huff left the game or however they phrased it, I went, he played? He was even in? He was even out there? So there's not many general managers that can swing and miss on such an acquisition, especially after losing Hassan Reddick, and still be this lethal defensively. And speaking of Howie Roseman, Cowboys VP Stephen Jones says Philly is headed for salary cap hell on 105.3 The Fan. I know everybody has their different battles with the cap that hit at different times. Philly will have theirs coming where they'll have to make tough decisions. So they're focused on us. They're focused on Howie Roseman's decisions, which, by the way, clearly you haven't been paying attention. Clearly you live under a rock. Clearly you are so clueless because Howie Roseman, he figures it all out. He figures it all out. And even if you do have to make a tough decision on a player, because yes, that does happen, that said player can get replaced normally by another good player. The big one I'm wondering is how they're going to do this Zach Bond thing. Do they make a signing with Zach Bond happen? Or do they go down their list of, hey, listen, we just find guys like Edwards, like Bond, and we'll find another one. You know, I am bringing up Bryce up for Hassan Reddick, and that hasn't really panned out. But more times than not, you have Howie Roseman. He goes and gets Saquon, CJ, GJ, Mekhi Becton, and then that doesn't matter. Nolan Smith starts to develop. Milton Williams makes plays in that great role. Jalen Carter is a star. Jordan Davis is swallowing up the middle, and guys like Burks are in there for Nakobe Dean and forcing fumbles. So, of course, you could point out maybe here and there some things that ended up being a swing and miss, but everybody swings and misses to some level. But what's the hit rate like? And, dude, what are we doing here? See, the Cowboys are dumb. It's not just their VP. It's not just Jerry Jones. It's also Micah Parsons. This thing went viral all day on Monday. Micah Parsons literally said, if you take away the scoreboard, the game would have been close. What?
You look at their play, they have 2 big runs and 3 good deep shots. Other than that, we made them earn it, and you take away the scoreboard. It was about 5 plays that decided this game. And you hate to say that because it's a lot of football, but the 2 deep shots to Devontae Smith and the one to A.J. Brown, and then also Devontae on that slant. For the most part, we were making them earn it. 3 yards, 2 yards, 4th and 1s, which is good football for when you're playing a team like the Eagles. But the other side is that when you play in those big teams, we understand big plays is going to happen. You understand, all right, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, some of the best guys in the league, they're going to make a big play. But you got to limit that big play margin from maybe.
What? What? Can somebody help me with that? The hell is this guy saying? Yo, the Cowboys are a disaster. Like a legitimate disaster. Imagine hearing that after the game's over. That's absurd. All right, I got a couple more, 2 actually. 2 more things to say, and then I'll slide in a couple of calls here. Grant, with that catch on 3rd down, I just want to make sure he gets recognition because that catch was insane. And the last thing on the Saquon thing is this. I keep hearing attempts versus games. Well, he had less attempts, even though we're looking at a 17-game schedule compared to previous schedules in the NFL and Eric Dickerson and this and that. We should really be looking at attempts. No, I think attempts and games go together. Like the fact that Eric Dickerson was able to get his amount of carries in that amount of workload in that amount of games, it's not just attempts. It's attempts and games combined that makes the story and the journey unique. So I'm not just looking at strictly carries and attempts and then forming my opinion based off of only that. What is interesting, because now we also get hit with this wave of it. Well, it's actually harder for Saquon to do it because it's such a run. It's not a run-heavy league anymore. It's more of a passing league. Well, because it's such a passing league, I think a lot of these defensive positions are different. And, there's always these hybrid safety linebacker stuff. And then there's also a lot of the shell coverage. And then there's also a lot of safety side. Not that there weren't safeties playing a certain way in the past. There was definitely more physicality in the past and whatnot. But that's sort of what I'm saying here is I almost feel that because of it being a passing game, even though it's not technically a run-heavy league anymore, even though it's starting to transition back to that a tiny degree this most recent season, because it got so pass happy, the defense plays a certain way that I feel can actually make the defense vulnerable to some running backs, especially scary ones like Saquon Barkley. But it's difficult either way. I think it was difficult back then. I think it's difficult now, still to this day. There's a reason why people don't get 2,000 rushing yards consistently, and it's a very rare type of family to be involved in, and it really is a nice sort of company. It's a good company. It's a good company to be in. So I get that. It's not easy no matter what era you played in, but I just won't strictly, personally, myself saying, I won't look at just attempts because I think attempts with the amount of games you played tells a bigger story than just attempts for whatever that's worth. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's take a few calls.
It is a great day to be an Eagles fan. Admittedly, I did turn the game off after like the second or third punt in a row by the Eagles.
What?
I had more important schoolwork to do for college, taking a winter course. I said, I'm not going to waste my time.
What?
A couple hours later, I checked the score, and it's 27-7 in the third quarter. I'm like, what the hell? I'm missing a real game here. So I turn it back on. I get to watch the Eagles pummel the Cowboys, which is great. We saw some fighting, which is good. It's time we get this rivalry back on track. I'm tired of all these kids being like, oh, I don't dislike them because we went to the same college. Fuck them. They wear the Cowboys star. You hate them now. Go Birds. On to the Giants. Let's cream them as well.
I think they can, even with their secondary guys. Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee, you name it. All the backups that should be getting the snaps, that should be playing all the time. in this game against Week 18. I think they could even beat up on the Giants. And the last we heard from Nick Sirianni was his standard Monday day after press conference, and he still did not have an update on that. No update on Jalen Hurts and the concussion protocol either. So obviously we are going to be monitoring that pretty heavily here. But he said he's not going to tell us what his plan is before he tells the team what the plan is. Now, maybe you can read into that a certain type of way. Well, he's got a plan, and his plan is probably to sit them down, and he doesn't want us to be the first to have that information. Or it's nothing even close to that, and I'm just looking for that because I want it to be that. I don't know. But there was a little inkling in the way it was delivered. Listen, I'm not telling you guys first. That means he knows the answer. And I feel if you know the answer already, because it's so simple, and it is, football-wise, it's simple. They don't play. You only have a conclusion already if you're going down the simple way of thinking, the right way of thinking, the real way of thinking, which would be you're not going to lace them up. We love you. I love you. We all care about you. But we know what the end goal is. And we can win a championship, and we had an early bye. You know how we feel, Saquon. Let's go win a damn trophy. We win that trophy, this whole thing, it's irrelevant anyway. Because everybody's partying, getting shit-faced, drinking garage beer down Broad Street, and shotgunning every beer they can find and funneling vodka. I used to see people snorting vodka off the bottom of a beer bottle can, a beer can. They'd pour vodka on the bottom of the beer can, snort it through their nose, and then shotgun the beer as quickly as they can. We'll be having that happen. I'm much worried about Eric Dickerson then. Let's make sure we put you on ice. We'll be good to go. Now, how do we feel about not watching the Eagles game due to the studies? Half of me says, good for you. Because I would never be able to do that. You kidding me? Either I do the homework super late at night, super early in the morning, Sunday, 1 o'clock. My homework is scheduled around when the Eagles play. So I'm either doing it maybe 8, 9, 10 a.m., go get a coffee, knock it out, then I'm done and everything's over with for the full day of football. That's how I would like to think I would handle it. But more times than not, I'd probably push it off to do it maybe during Sunday night football. And then the whole 4 o'clock hour, I'd be like, damn it, I should have done it. Damn it, I should have done it. Damn it, I should have done it. Then I won't even do it through Sunday Night Football. And then halfway through Sunday Night Football, I'd say, damn, I should have done it by now. I should have done it by now. And then I get it done around midnight. That's probably how I would do it. So part of me gives you a ton of respect for being able to focus on the studies. And I want you to focus on the studies. The other half goes, I could never do that. So good for you. That's all. I want to give you love too. All right, let's go to Sean.
Bouncing back with a big win today. The defense continues to generate turnovers. I mean, what is that, 9 in the last 2 weeks? Pretty damn impressive. You know, Tanner McKee, Kenny Pickett, solid job from both. I mean, I'm still a little uneasy every time Pickett lines up under center, but the guy did the job today. I mean, granted, the opposition wasn't great, but did what he had to do. Devontae Smith, I figured, would bounce back. I'm not surprised at all that he had a big game. But I got to pose this to you, Hunter. If it's me, you know, and I know a lot of things have to happen to even have a shot at home field, but I'm still not playing my guys, and I'm still not risking Saquon Barkley for the record. I mean, what's to stop a Giants player from, putting the helmet to his kneecap, twisting his knee in a pile, stepping on his foot trying to pop his Achilles? I don't think the risk is worth the reward, personally.
I don't either. Now, do I think it will be as aggressive as what you just laid out? No, I don't. I think there's a lot of respect for Saquon, especially some of his former teammates up in New York. But I do think that they would want to make him earn it for sure. And as much as I don't think anyone would intentionally go after Saquon because he is super, super, super respected in that organization, I do look right back at what happened with Kenny Pickett, and there were intentional cheap shots, knowing that there was a rib, knowing that there was something going on. And there could be maybe someone who doesn't respect Saquon that much, and they think, you know what? Let me just pop him here for good measure. He's running out of bounds, but I don't want him to get that record on my team. I'm going to pop him late. Yeah, I think I just saw it happen with Kenny Pickett and the ribs. Everyone knew he had a bunch of different padding on underneath that jersey and underneath of his shoulder pads. You don't think that there was a correlation on some of those hits and the knowledge of what he was prior? Now, Saquon's not injured prior, but that doesn't mean they can't make it a living hell for him and take some unnecessary shots. So it's like, you're going to earn this. And maybe something bad could happen. I agree. And the whole, like, they're in the 2 seed. That's where we're at. And with that being the case, just prepare for the playoffs at this point. Step 1, win the division. Got that ready. Now we move on to what's next. A home playoff game in the first round. See what happens. All right, everybody, we'll continue talking about it. Greatly appreciate all of your support. Love you. You're the best in the world, and I'll see you all on the next one.